Great job defining some additional interfaces. We'll be using those interfaces as we extend our content types. So far, the site only displays posts, but we want to show pages as well. Each of these content types will have many things in common, but they will also have their own features. Let's get our site ready for these different content types and expand the post features at the same time. Let's start by creating a new class in our source classes folder. We'll name this posts.php. Our class posts is going to extends collection. We'll need to change the constructor a little, so let's add a new constructor to this class. We're going to accept the same parameters as the parent, so we can call the parent constructor. So let's go into the collection class and select this constructor. Before the call to the parent constructor, we need to set the entity or type of content we'll be using. This equals posts. And then we can call the parent construct. And we'll pass the repo, the ID, and the field. Now let's change the constructor on the parent to use this new entity. We're going to add another protected property for entity. And then instead of posts, we're going to change this to this entity. Let's change our instance calls to make sure that this new class works. Posts, posts. And let's preview. Great. Everything still works as it did before. We're ready to implement the new trackable and shareable interfaces. Let's go back to posts. Posts is going to implement trackable interface and shareable interface. Now for the trackable interface. Public function get author. To get the author name, we're going to use our repo again, but this time we'll be searching in users. User equals this repo find users, and then this current author. This will find the user that matches the author ID of the current item. Because the find method returns an array, we need to set the user variable to contain just the first item. Now we're going to check if empty user name. Then we can return unknown. If we get past that return, we can return the user name. Return user name. Now for the public function, get date time. We want to return a formatted string for the date and time. We can add the format as an optional parameter so that we could pass a specific format to this method, even though the trackable interface did not define any required parameters. Because this parameter is optional and has a default value, it is still compatible with the trackable interface. Format equals capital D, comma, D, capital M, capital Y, H, I, S. Now we're going to turn the current date time into a date time object. Date equals new date time, this current date time. Then we can return the formatted string. Return date format. Now for the shareable interface. We'll need to create 3 methods. public function share Twitter. To share on Twitter, we're going to return the URL encoded title with a space. Return URL encode this current title, and then a space. Then we're going to link to the current page. http://server http host, and then server request URI. Next, we have public function share email. To share by email, we're going to return a string containing the subject and the body. Return subject equals URL encode this current title. And then end body equals URL encode this short description. Also add 2 line breaks, read more at, and the link to our site. And finally, Facebook. Public function share Facebook. For Facebook, we'll simply return a link to the current page. Let's preview our site again, just to make sure that we don't have any errors. Great. Our interfaces are implemented properly. We're ready to start checking for interfaces and displaying the proper views.